more time.
You're welcome to our first episode in 2022 on Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series.
Make more time.
Where we discuss issues relating to the mental health of workers. Workers can include those who work in industries, in various organizations. Workers can include you as an individual who works alone. Workers can include teachers. Workers can include public office holders. Workers can also go as to the extent of military personnel. Workers can be the CEO of organizations. Workers can be the gate man of an organization. Everyone is a worker. And that makes this episode a very important one for all of us to always attend to. Remember, it's Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series. Yeah, let's go there.
Make more time.
Mrs. Bumi, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a beautiful
Confirm that
Sunday.
you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes. It's a beautiful Sunday evening. The eve, is it the eve? Yeah, the eve of Valentine's Day. So, and a 1 year, today is making it 1 year we started this program, this Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series. So I guess
yes, very correct. I'm pretty sure our first episode was actually on Valentine's Day, right? I'm very correct.
Yes, it was Valentine's Day last year, but it was a Sunday. That's what makes it look like it's already a year. Really, it's already a legal year.
Yeah, it's a legal year.
It's like a year. It's a legal year.
So how are you doing today?
Yes.
So what's up? How are you doing today? What's pumping? What's happening?
I am.
We are live
good.
now.
I'm good. I'm good.
I observed that throughout the week you've been very, very busy. I hope you're taking time to rest so that you won't get angry and beat the wrong person.
Well, we'll find time to rest, but it's never enough. There's never enough rest.
Yeah.
But then, like we say, is mental health awareness. Be aware of your body, so you know when your body is shutting down. So my body is not shutting down right now. I'm excited, especially about this session.
Wow.
So good.
Exactly. I'm also very excited. It shows that it proves is a point of proof of competency and consistency, because it shows that we are actually consistent with what we are doing. It's a year now, and we are still doing it together. And I think we deserve a round of applause. We deserve a round of applause. It deserves a round of applause. It deserves a round of applause. So, how are we starting? We don't have much people online now. Should we continue or for?
Because
we have Mrs. Alajo.
Because this session usually go for. I mean, we get to have it on record for people who can't attend anyway. So there are lots of issues now. I understand some people are in fuel stations queuing for fuel against this week rather. So yeah, it could be the reason why some people are late joining me. But then it's good for us to continue. They can watch the full episode, later on. So
talking about
where do you start? Do you start with introduction or I go?
Talking about this part of it, I don't even know how I want to pay about it, because the last time I checked my car, I'm empty. I just parked it because I'm scared of buying a Ford that will give me problem. There's no money to repair cars.
There's the advantage for those that have been working from home, because some people are still be working from home, since forever. They've come enough. So I mean, they're not feeling the heat like those that we have to resume work tomorrow. So, well, it's Nigeria. Right. We'll cope. We are making Yeah.
So what do you suggest now? Should we go ahead and start?
Okay, so I'll just introduce the session once again. It's important we know the reason why we are having this. Workers' mental health and safety is a mental health and safety awareness. I'm repeating that, mental health and safety again. Yeah, it's a mental health and safety awareness program. To help to educate workers, everyone. As long as you are above 18, you are legally allowed to work. You should have some level of awareness of your mental health in the workplace. So that is what this program is all about. And it's sponsored by two organizations represented by two individuals here. That's OSEC Legal Aid Clinic. OSEC is Occupational Health Safety Empowerment Center. It's an NGO to help set up to help workplace victims get justice, basically, and justice, compensation, and what have you. While we have CODA Safety Consult is a total packaged, service delivery on health and safety management system and so many other products and services around safety. I think Wali will be in a better position to talk about that as the MD CEO of that organization. So basically, this series is brought to you by sponsored, in terms of content, in terms of materials, educational materials that we push out there, is jointly sponsored by these two organizations, and it is we are out here consistently. I mean, it's going to be more consistent this year, monthly at least, to push out things you need to know concerning your mental health and safety in the Nigerian workplace. I mentioned Nigerian workplace because there are issues that are very peculiar to every jurisdiction and environment. And the way we deal with these things are not in the books. They are through our practical experiences. We share them. And then we believe that through that, people can be more mentally aware, people can be more educated on these issues. And we can have a safer and healthier work environment in Nigeria. So that is it. And I remain yours, Bumi Jasmine Omeke, barrister in the brackets, but of so many things. Yeah, it's an health and safety advocate, a lawyer and an HR practitioner interested in health and safety. And then we have my own very articulate, diligent, resilient,
very simple person.
While you, Adegoke, an engineer, a safety advocate, a safety expert. Let me put it that way. Expert. Several years of experience.
I did blush you.
And my co-host. We are co-hosts to each other on this show. And
and we are co-hosts on several occasions too.
Yes, on the ones that make money.
Yes, sure.
I believe you should just sit back, forget about the numbers. Like we said, several things don't allow people to be able to come in to attend a Instagram live at a particular time because of our demographic as well. We have a lot of people that are preparing for work tomorrow. We understand that, and that's why we always make this recording of this session available for everyone to listen. If you're on this live show with us, you can still go back to it and listen to us, and even send us messages. Our DMs are open for, information or help or, helpline basically, so sit back and listen to our series. I mean, what we're bringing in for today, and I'll leave that to Waliu to introduce that to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you feel that? You feel that, right? Can you hear the background music? I want to be sure that the background music plays along as you continue.
Okay,
right?
Slightly, not
slightly.
It's not. I'm feeling some breaks.
Okay, in between, right?
Yes.
What about this? Can you hear anything?
Yes, I can hear that.
So, thank you for coming to this episode of Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series. Yeah, like we said, it's been a beautiful 1 year of consistency on discussing about mental health and safety issues of workers. It has been analyzed, it has been put into statistics that the effects of the mental ability, the mental strength, the mental reasoning, the mental faculty of individuals that make up the workplace, which is the workforce, the effect of their productivity or the effect on their productivity. We have the aspect of the physical side of individuals more from mental issues that affect their productivity in the workplace, and which makes them to not only affect the workplace as an individual, but affect the workplace as a total atmosphere, or can I say as a total environment. There's a transfer. Someone who has injury, let's say physical injury, someone who fell down, for example, from his stairs, will go home and get treated, and that is it. But someone who has who is suffering from mental incident or mental accident, can transfer that mental issues, that mental inability to someone else, and that is how it goes, and it's easy to spread. We have seen situations, we've seen a lot of pictures of a CEO or a boss shouting at his supervisor. The supervisor goes ahead to scream on the worker, on goes to the child. So it goes a long way, and that is why it's very important that we have a series like this where we discuss about workers' mental health and safety. So today, being a 1 year round, we will be talking and focusing on what we've discussed so far for the past 1 year, and that is where we will be focusing on this particular day. So last year we had a lot of discussions. We discussed so many things. We talked about issues surrounding hostility. We talked about issues surrounding productivity. The reason why we are focused on workplace is because, number one, we all spend most of our time in the workplace. Some people resume as early as 6 o'clock to get started for the day, and before they get back home, maybe around 9, 10, they have limited time at home. So whatever happens in the workplace will definitely tell on them. Whatever happens in the workplace will definitely affect their productivity or affect their relationship with their family. That is why we said we need to create an environment where everyone will be able to feel psychologically safe, mentally safe, to be productive in the workplace, and that in turn will affect the individual and will affect the family. So it starts from the workplace. So last year we discussed about we started with the Valentine series. We're going to talk about this one after the other. We talk about the Valentine series, the Valentine's Day, and the question of the day for the Valentine. We talk about mental health first aid, which is actually a new concept that is gaining ground and in the environment, because we have physical first aid that we give to people from physical accidents, but we ignore the mental side of it, and the mental side of it actually affects people more than the physical aspect. So we will also be talking about mental health first aid. From there, we'll talk about occupational accident, reporting and investigating and enforcement. Is mediation a better option? When people get involved in an accident, should they go through the proper channel? Should they prosecute the organization, or should they go behind bars or behind? Sorry, I don't want to use behind bars. Sorry, my amiable lawyer. Should they go behind the scene and?
I don't want to interfere. Just do the overview, and then we'll now go into them one by one.
Yeah. Should they? I don't want to interfere. Yeah. Should they settle it, or they should take it legal way? And what is the implication? What is the effect on the overall, the overall effect on mental well-being of the organization, workers in the organization. Then we spoke about hostility, handling hostility in the workplace, and issues surrounding hostility and what it can result to, like people leaving their job. We spoke about mental health after the pandemic during the COVID-19 era. Even when we started, we never knew there would be a serious pandemic. I think so.
Yeah.
We never knew it was going to be a very serious pandemic, and we discussed about it after it happened, the effect of the pandemic on the workplace safety. Then we discussed about identifying and handling violent behaviors in the workplace. Like we said, we have various kind of individuals that make up the workplace. Different kind of people make up the workplace, and how can we handle a violent different behaviors in the workplace? We have a lot of human beings that some have violent behaviors, some have psychotic behaviors, various disorders, but we're all coming together in the workplace to ensure productivity. So we need to have a way to synchronize these different people with different behaviors and know how to be productive and have a positively growing organization. And that is all what we discussed for last year. So I will leave it to my amiable, beautiful queen, to go ahead and let's analyze this one after the other.
Well, you take your time. Between the last time we started and now, you acquired a queen. So please stick to your queen. Stick to your queen. Call your queen your queen. Don't call me queen. I'm a lawyer, please. I don't want to compete in that area. Please do. Okay. So, guys, we started with Valentine series. We had Valentine series, and that was a very, very interesting one. It was a blast. It was a blast that no one was even, expecting. It was really a blast on that day. And on that day, we talked about, is it safe to date your colleague at work? Some people said yes. Some people said no, for different reasons. And then we now decided, okay, it's not of this yes and no that we are talking about. Let's look at the pros and cons. What are the advantages and the disadvantages of dating your colleague at work? And then we also took it to the professional angle. We understand that some companies have policies against, married people or people dating each other within the workplace. And some will say, even if you're dating each other, it's fine, but you have to disclose the fact that you are in a romantic relationship with your colleague at work. So on the pros and cons value, I think, for me, I feel it's like like someone has to resign. It's maybe the person who is highly paid there or someone who sees a career there, but I feel like one of them has to resign. Why? And what is my why? I feel like it's a distraction, and it may also limit their ambition. And of course, we talked about companies' policy. Some companies don't allow it anyway, so it's not even your right to decide whether that should happen. And then it also leads to unhealthy competition. I'm a married woman. Yes, proudly so. And this is my 8th year in marriage. So when we talk about unhealthy competition between couples, the workplace can actually trigger it. If you're in the same work environment, you understand what I mean? Like, there's that unhealthy kind of competition, especially with your colleagues. Imagine your wife coming home as a man and she's been promoted above you. How are you able to take that hit? So you need to actually find out if your mental health capabilities can take that. So that's another thing. And for me, I feel there's limited aspiration. Yeah, the both of you are just all about the place you work and satisfying one common work environment. I feel like there's limitation in your ambition as a couple. When it's a couple goals and all these kind of things, I feel like there's kind of limitation. So I would say no. Dating your colleague at work, no. I think while you try to make a case for it, so maybe we should listen to him if he has a case, if he still has that case for it.
Yeah.
There's one matter while this CNN guy that resigned. What's that his name again? I've forgotten his name. Anyway, let me listen to your own side of it.
Well, I made a case actually, and you are correct.
Okay.
There is what I'm not an advocate of total freedom, yes, but notwithstanding, there are some things that are natural. Where you're going to find someone you're going to get married to, there is no limitation to it. You can get someone you can get married to anywhere. That you're in the
Yeah,
workplace
right.
doesn't mean that your soulmate is not in the workplace. It has to do with ability to be mature about it. That is number one. Then number two, talking about the aspect of productivity. When people date in the workplace, there are some things that they do indirectly that actually leads to productivity in the workplace. For example, someone who we have people dating in the workplace, they might want to come early every day because they want to see themselves. Coming early to work every day is part of productivity because they will be engaged in their work. Another aspect is that the other one will not want to appear stupid in the presence of his boyfriend, of his girlfriend, or a boyfriend. Why? Because they are working together, maybe different department, but he doesn't want a report, a negative report to get to her boyfriend or to his girlfriend. So they tend to sit up and do the right thing. They don't want to create an atmosphere where look at you, your boyfriend doesn't know anything, or your girlfriend doesn't know anything, or your fiance doesn't know anything. So because of that, they tend to be more serious with what they do in the workplace. And depending on their level of maturity, it can actually skill through. That is in the aspect of dating. But when it comes to marriage, like you said, it's a very different thing entirely. Some organizations don't allow couples to get married and live together. Yeah, someone said, I thought they said you can't date in the bank. Well, I've not worked in the banking industry, but I know that every organization we have its own policy and we are doing their own things. But all in all, my own belief is that it depends on how organization sees it. But another negative area is the area of gossiping. I imagine everybody fully dating themselves in the workplace. It will be a chaos. It will be a chaos. Like everybody's free. I'm free to date this person, date that person. Everybody's free to date. No. That environment, there'll be gossiping. The level of teamwork will be limited because maybe if he dated this one today, then broke up and dated someone else. That kind of thing can lead to serious negative consequences in the workplace. But apart from that, I think there's no big deal in having the positive side, the productive side of people dating together in the workplace. So the answer or your own decision is left for you to choose.
It's left for you, yeah. It depends, like what the lawyer says, it depends on the circumstances of the case. So we move.
Yeah.
It depends on the circumstances of the case. So in our second series, we thought about what you need to know about mental first aid. And then we asked a question, and then our summary will be around this question. What would you do if your colleague suddenly shows signs of mental health condition? Okay, there are different kind of mental health condition at work. So your colleague comes into work and might not necessarily be aggressive, might be that he's lost in his mind or he forgets things easily, might even be your subordinate, yeah? Always forgetting things, disorganized, lost in thoughts, depressive behavior, might not necessarily be violent, but I still going to talk about violence. So I want us to look at all those other behaviors apart from violence. If your colleague shows this kind of behavior, what would be your reaction as someone who is mentally aware or not? I don't know. What would be as a person, as a colleague? Yeah. So should I throw that question? Should I allow you to? Okay, I think Wally should take that, and then I would give my own what I think should happen in an ideal situation. Yeah.
All right. I also think that we should allow those interested interested in joining the conversation to be able to drop it in the comment section. Let us know. Someone was asking a question that he thought they said they can't date in the bank. I don't know if you have any idea about that. Do you have any idea about that?
Organizations have their different policy. In the bank, yes, you can't get married. For dating, I don't know. I haven't worked in the bank before. I haven't worked into their policy. I haven't read to that point. But I know that every organization has their policy, and if you are working in an organization, you should stick to their rules. So for that, we can't give you our own general opinion. I mean, you should stick to the rules of where you work. But in the case where we have other settings that they don't have such policies or anything, we're just saying for your own mental well-being, what are the factors that you should consider? And I believe that we've ruled out all those factors. I mean, we've rolled them out and we've discussed them. So then you now address it to the peculiarity. I mean, you accommodate it based on the peculiarity of your situation. Because like what you said, you cannot decide who and when to fall in love with. That's one thing. And that makes that topic very dicey. So let's come back to the issue of, if you say your colleague at work showing some signs of mental health condition, apart from violence, we're going to talk about violence later. What should you do? What do you think?
The question emanated from the issue surrounding mental health first aid. And we're talking about mental health first aid, just like the physical first aid that we give, the first treatment that we give to people when they experience a kind of shock or anxiety or a stressor that is beyond what they can cope with. And it can be short term and it can be long term. Long term in the sense that you start seeing the person behaving in a particular way that is not his usual behavior. When you observe this, mental health first aid talks about what are the things you need to put first. Immediately you see that, what should you do? Immediately you see that symptom, that behavior, what are those steps that you should take to first prevent the escalation and promote a quick recovery of the well-being of the individual. So the question I'll say is, what would you do if your colleague suddenly shows signs of mental health behavior or mental health condition? Some people get shocking news and they start behaving psychotic, like a sudden news, maybe, and you start seeing them, they start laughing. Some will collapse immediately. Some will start rushing to get their car keys. Some will become so unstable. Different behaviors. The first thing is relative to what what is happening. The first thing that you should do is, I think that particular day, the people brought different sort of opinions. And part of the suggestions or part of what people said they would do is to report to the boss, is to report to the senior person. And we advise that when such thing happens, what you should do is to find a way to calm the person down if you can. Because at that point in time, there are bodily reactions that is going on inside the system. There are a lot of bodily reactions. There is palpitation. There is shortness of breath. Their muscles are contracted, and at that point in time they are shivering. At that point in time, a lot of things is happening. So psychologically, the first thing we should do is to bring them down back to the normal state. That's why when someone is in a state of distress, the first thing they tell the person to do is to sit down, because at that point in time they want the person to relax his body, because it's the reactions of the body that will increase with time and can cause serious consequences. So when the person sits down, the next thing they tell the person is to take water. And the reason why they tell them to take water is because there is shortness of breath and their mouth is dry. There's a kind of communication between the body, the mind, and the brain. The brain will transmit whatever information is given to it by the mind, and the mind will now make it to react on the body. So when the person drinks water, it's because at that point there is no water, there is shortness, there is a dry throat. So when the person takes water, the brain transmits it that there is no more dry throat, and it sends the signal to the mind, and the mind tries to relax the body. Then from there, they can tell the person to breathe in and breathe out. Because at that point in time, the person is also having short breath. So we are trying to return the person to the normal state by actually being active and being deliberate about it. So these are the things that we do when it comes to your colleague having a mental health condition. But if it's a long term, I just discussed for a short term, and I want my colleague to tell us what you should do if it's a long time. Maybe after some weeks you start seeing change in behavior. Maybe it doesn't dress well again. Someone that used to do makeup
Yeah.
is now dressing shabbily. Someone that is also
Yeah.
that's always communicating, always jovial, is now becoming dry at work, just sitting down lonely, not communicating. What should you do? And I'll leave that to my colleague to discuss with us.
Okay. Good thing is we have this session to educate us what should we do, not what we ought to do, not what we've been doing, right? So the first thing I would say about whatever it is you should do about mental health is be aware. Mental health awareness, that's part of what we're doing here. If you go back to all the sessions we've been having on mental health, it will educate you a lot on different kind of mental health behaviors and conditions. I would announce the platforms when we're done with this session. You need to really go in there. Everybody needs that content. They need to listen to it. They need that knowledge because it helps you to be able to handle, whatever you don't want to dig a well. They say don't dig a well while you're testing. So you are equipped, you are empowered with the knowledge on mental health conditions at work, the kind of things you can face at work with your colleague or your subordinates, and then on the spot you're able to handle it, you're able to recognize, because that's the first thing you need to recognize. You need to be aware, and then you need to recognize that this is a mental health condition. A lot of us do some things that are abnormal, and we've taken it as a norm just because we are not aware, and we've not been able to recognize that that's a mental health condition. In fact, during my journey in educating myself on mental health issues, especially in the workplace, I got to understand that I have witnessed a lot of people right in the workplace displaying a mental health condition. It is not to stigmatize them, but it's just what it is, and somehow it's been overlooked and it's affecting productivity in the workplace. Not to digress, now you're aware, you've recognized that it's a mental health condition. What is the next thing on the long term? If this person keeps showing this kind of behavior and it's affecting productivity. So there should be, in every workplace, we recommend what they call the mental health first aid system, where you have a stage-by-stage procedure for addressing a worker that is diagnosed. Kind of, I can say, complete diagnosis by a mental health expert. But when we talk about first aid, it's like a quick intervention before it's diagnosed. A quick intervention, and that quick intervention comes as a result of your recognition of it. That this could be a mental health. This is most likely going to be a mental health condition. And so there's this mental health first aid that is put in place. First of all, you have the escalation procedure, a way that this thing is escalated. If you are someone who is well equipped, well aware, I was talking about awareness, you could walk up to the person depending on the kind of issue. That we have noticed that this and this and this, is there something wrong? Is there something you would like to discuss with me? There are such kind of people in the workplace that are very good at that. You find that they're like what they call them? They console people. They are people's person. If you are that kind of person and you're mentally aware, good job. That's something you can do. So you can approach a person and try to find out what the root cause is, and then suggest that the person see a therapist if you are not a therapist, And then if you see that it's affecting, of course, there should be an escalation procedure. It could be through the HR, but in every workplace now, we are recommending as an organization, as two organizations rather, jointly taking this initiative out that people should consult CODA safety consults to help them set up such kind of system, put such kind of system in place, in such a way that workers' safety, because if a colleague's mental health and safety, health is in jeopardy, it can affect other people's safety at work. Before you know it comes on to a psychotic and violent behavior, so there should be that kind of system in place. So that's why we're having this program, and I'm sure there's a lot of content out there for you to be aware, of these procedures. So that's about it for that series.
That's pretty sorry. That reminds me of the story of the 1 year old 7-month-old boy that was plucked because it just said that it's going to affect the workers. Yes, and in this case, it's not the worker now. It's not a child. Now the teacher who was plugging a student I'm very sure that I think I read of something that says that said that the teacher was, I think you sent it to me, that the teacher was undergoing some kind of maybe a mental health condition that wasn't diagnosed because there's no system to diagnose that. It happens in the workplace when you see different kind of exactly
Yes.
when.
Okay. So that I sent to you, the explanation I sent to you was my own personal experience. You know, I had this. There was this nanny in my daughter's school that attacked my daughter. I call it attack because that's a serious attack. Pinched my daughter to the point that I saw the scar. Pinched. You know when you pinch somebody and you pinch the flesh, you pinch the flesh out. She was barely 5. I think she was 4, going to 5. She was just in grade 1 then, and she just resumed that school. And then I saw it, and I know my daughter. She's a very confident child, just like me, like mother. She's a bold girl, yeah. So I asked her, "What did you do?" And she said she asked her not to do something about her bag, not to put dirty plates or something in her bag, and that she pinched her because of that. And I said, "No, you should have been polite." I understand that sometimes when you are polite, bold, it comes off to some people that are not used to that kind of, upbringing. They feel like you're a rude child. So try to be polite next time. I said that to her, and then I went to the school to find out what exactly was wrong. And he said, probably the nanny is going through some issues, because that is unacceptable. How do you do that? And then they found out that yes, she's not okay, and she was laid off because you can't be dealing with a child. I'm a mother, and I know they can drive you crazy. And to use that word, you can't be parenting a child and not be mentally okay. It's not possible. You shouldn't even try it. Not to talk of the school system, So yeah, I'm listening.
That takes us to the fact that if we as parents, we know that our kids give us a lot of stress. Now, what we talk about teachers that actually stay with the kids for a long time in the class? Exactly. It means that schools need to establish this system to ensure the mental health. Because number one, teachers are short paid. Well, you look at it, average they are short paid. That alone is a mental stress already. And sometimes it's not enough. You see a teacher collecting 20,000 naira per month and needs to feed his family. And this is someone that studied in the university, in the polytechnic, that is ought to be collecting. So that alone is a stress. Then the stress of the kids.
And then you come with big cars to drop your child. Your child is bringing out lunchbox, chicken fried rice, chicken fried, talking.
At the end of the day,
that's mental stress.
At the end of the day, these various stressors we accumulate and make them to behave in some irrational way that would actually now affect the kids. Same thing applies to the workplace. You see some boss, the way they treat their workers, it affects the mental health of the workers. Workers are not able to focus on the workplace. Especially if you go to the construction site, there are lots of these behaviors. Today is not to go in depth into every discussion, it's to have an overview of all that we discussed last year. So let's go straight to the next discussion. Okay. So on our next discussion we have. Okay, will you continue with it? I think someone is requesting to join us live.
I really want us to brush through that. We had occupational accidents where we brought in a guest speaker.
Should we accept the person? Someone wants to join us live. I think he has something to say.
Please, go ahead. Accept the person with a round of applause. This is meant to be participatory, man. Accept the person, please.
I think, okay.
I think we changed something.
Are you there? Are you with us?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, your name and location, please. As a radio presenter. Your name and location. Hello? Oh, network.
I think there's an issue with the network.
Okay, I think it's a network. Okay, so let's continue. When he's ready to talk, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So for the series 3, we had occupational accidents, reporting, investigation, and enforcement, and we considered if mediation is a better option for occupational accident victims. Not to bore you with the English, occupational accident victims is the same thing as workplace victims. Victims in the workplace. People who go have accidents in the workplace or between their place of residence to the workplace. When you have an accident, it's classified under occupational accidents, So, is mediation the best route, or we should just leave it to our courts? And we had a mediation expert come in that day, and he actually justified the reason why mediation should be considered. Given reasons, the peculiarity of our environment, like we said, all what we'll be discussing here is not in the books, it's practical. We have court cases that go on for 3 years, 4 years, and nothing is being done. Is it not better that the victim is even compensated out of the court between the families, the workplace and the family, and everybody go and they're happy? That is what mediation actually does in simple terms. There are other things attached, but in simple terms, that's what mediation does. And then we said, yes, it's possible in some cases, but in some very extreme cases where a life is lost, a life cannot be replaced, and the company has been shown, proven by investigation and reports to be careless. Not even a first offender. First offender said whatever. They've been careless and they shouldn't continue with that system. They'll be shut down. The law has to take its course. There are rules and regulations around the way a company should operate. So in that kind of instance, out of court settlement might be a no-no. And we stopped at that. I think that was where we summarized. To some extent, when a worker is being judged, you can negotiate hospital bill, getting him back on his feet, getting him to do a less stressful job, settling him for life, settling his dependents. Those things go into compensation. So you don't even want to run as an organization in an unsafe way that will bring you to that point. The organizations are shut down on mediation as well. So whether mediation or court settlement, the most important thing is prevention. They say is better than cure. But when occupational accidents happens, either or both can be considered, depending on the peculiarity of that case, depending on the case in question. So I think that was what he had for that series. Well, I'm sure you agree with me.
Yes, that was what we had. But personally, I really don't like mediation because in a same country, mediation should not be an option. And the reason why we have mediation is because of the poor system. If we have a proper system that actually addresses the issues of occupational accidents, I think that workers will confidently not go for mediation, because even when they go to court and they address it legally, they will still get compensated. But because we are not living in a very same country that takes that gives value to workers. What do I mean? When, let's say, for example, someone get involved in an accident, an organization, and they know that, yes, they know the consequences, they're going to pay millions of naira to the individual, they're going to shut down, they're going to pay fines. They would, at first, like you said, prevent such happiness. But when it happens, the workers will not be deprived of his right to be compensated. Only if the mediation will also go legally, like, okay, we are going for mediation, but it's going to be put in pen and paper. It's going to be written down that this is what we are going to give you. We are going to make sure that you are fit. We are going to still employ you, do a lesser job, and we are still going to be paying your salary. We are not going to relieve you of your work. We are going to do this for your kids. We are going to sponsor your kids, depending on the severity of the accident. So is that one that will determine what they want to use to compensate. But like I said, if the legal system that we have in Nigeria is actually values the lives of workers, I don't think and what they are supposed to do, they do them. I don't think there will be any need for mediation. Mediation is just like a backdoor something. Please let us set this, let us go take it serious. Because even those that want to take it serious might look at the fact that it might spend years, 5 years, 10 years in the court and nothing will be done. So they success for mediation. So let's go to the next, because I think we discussed at length about this. We actually had a very hot conversation that day, because we were going front and back. I was having the issue.
Different platforms.
Yes. So if you're interested in that, sorry. If you're interested in that, the live video, you can go to our YouTube channel, Safety World TV. The record is there. It's also on our Instagram page, I think. The record is there, and you can always watch them and have your comments on them. So let's go to the next one for today.
Okay. So for the next one, I will combine the series 4 and series 5 because we have the part 1 and part 2. So we talked about on series 4 and series 5, we basically just talked about handling hostility in the workplace. And then we asked a question which went into both series as well. We asked the question, we said, would you leave a high paying job for a lower paying job when you're unhappy? Just because you're unhappy on the higher paying job, would you leave it for a lower paying job? And yes, some people said, why not? Their happiness is important, their mental health is important. In fact, we had paid trainings out of this place where we had our audience answer, in the positive that yes, I will leave. In fact, I've done it. We had instances where people gave examples that I have actually done it. I moved, and that is why I'm here, And then we came to the conclusion that, Wally and I came to the conclusion that it is important to know the reason why you're unhappy, first of all, and be able to address it. You need to address the root cause of the hostility in the workplace. Is it coming from you? Is it the kind of vibe you're giving? Is it coming from you? Because it's possible it's coming from you. Is it coming from a colleague that is having a mental health condition, or it's coming from an overall system that is encouraging hostility? And there are ways to control it. Policy and procedures, blah, blah, blah. We gave a list of ways of managing and controlling and preventing hostility in the workplace. And then if you are unable to manage it, then you might need to now plan your way out. Because it's only a living man. When you say a living man, not not someone who is walking dead, a living man, mentally balanced, body, soul, and spirit that can actually go to work. So if the hostility, you try to cope, you try to use a coping mechanism, you try to manage it, as we've discussed, we have all those content there, you can go watch them, and you're unable to do that, then you might need to start planning your way out of that hostile environment. So that is that for that series 4 and 5. Well, you have something
talking
to say?
about hostility. Yeah, talking about hostility in the workplace, we should understand the fact that from the aspect of the question that we asked, that can you do a high paying job for a lower paying job when you're happy? We want to drive to the fact that talking about an organization, because we're talking about the workplace, we don't want workers to leave the organization. That is the goal. We don't want them to leave the organization. We want to build a kind of a workplace that will not encourage workers to leave the organization. And we found out that part of those things that affect workers staying or leaving an organization is the kind of system that we run, like having a hostile workplace, a hostile environment where people are being insulted, are being bullied, and they don't feel comfortable to express themselves. That kind of a workplace will definitely not ensure productivity, and individuals might actually want to leave that kind of workplace. But also bear in mind, and as an individual, that if you are going from a high-paying job to a lower-paying job, if you are unhappy, you don't know where you are going to. Who tells you? Where did you see that where you are going to also will not also be a workplace where
would you keep running
hostility, and you're still going to go back to square one? That is why I said, as an individual, you should have mental health, you have coping techniques. How do you cope with stress? Because it is stressors that comes from various angles. Stressors that comes from work activities, that comes from burnout, anxiety, that comes from different things can lead to stress of a violent workplace or hostile workplace. You should know how to cope and expand your ability to cope with these various stressors that can affect your mental ability. I think that is better than jumping from one workplace to the other, because you wouldn't know where you are going through. And that is now part of handling hostility in the workplace. So the next one that we have is mental health under the pandemic, and we want this to be very, very brief. Yes. And its impact on the workplace. How has the pandemic had its own impact on the workplace, positively and negatively? We elaborated on this, we discussed on so many things concerning this, and I think it took a lot of time because pandemic is what we are actually living in now. And on the positive aspect of it, workplace safety has been improved in terms of
Yes.
Number one, we prevented COVID-19 from spreading, so there's limitation to people going to work. People had time to be with their families at home, and they were able to spend more time with the family, build relationship. But it has affected the external relationship, that is relationship with people meeting themselves at work, and even the teamwork spirit will be lesser compared to when you have yourself, seeing yourself in the workplace. So it also affects productivity, or only if the organization is deliberate about ensuring that productivity is still very much achieved in the workplace while people work from home. So the pandemic has given us a good dimension. People now start working from home. Though there are other stressors that come with working from home. When you're at home, the kids, really being with the kids, being with the husband seeing you, you being your husband, the kids shouting, screaming, playing, pushing the kids. Those ones are stressors, and you still need to be productive again. You still need to complete your assignment for the particular day. Unlike when you are at work, you are you are not with your family, you are at work. Some men actually run away from home by using the work as an excuse. They are always happy to be at work because they don't want to face the house wahala, the stress and the shouting and the screaming. So it's a two-way thing, but overall, I think the pandemic has actually given a new dimension, and it had a lot of impact
Yeah.
on workplace safety. Over to you.
One intriguing technical part that I found very, was that what they said. They said there's a kind of mood that they call pandemic mood, and they call it languishing. They call it languishing. They say languishing is a state, where it is not burnout and it's not depression. The person just feels, I think he's basically being bored. I think that's where I can actually explain that languishing. Not feeling enthusiastic towards your work, just feeling very bored and tired, And that happens a lot because people start to work from home, they are not relating with colleagues. There's this feeling that comes when you dress up. I miss dressing up. When you dress up, as in you look forward to the next Monday, the next week, you already arrange your clothes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what you're wearing to work. As in there's just that feeling. There's that mental feeling you get from the ladies in the house can feel me. So, and then you're not need to wake up from your room. You can even wear one top and maybe one you can wear an office shirt. So the person on the other side in the Zoom meeting feels, if they bring pictures of people, and if people take their pictures of working from home during the pandemic, there will be a very terrible sight. Because some people wear, they'll be very, very, very terrible sight. Because some people wear office shirt or, knicker. I want to be nice. Not to say something else, and, coming out and just sitting down in front of one office chair and all you're just doing is just having a meeting coming. You have deadlines and all that. It became very boring. People had very negative attitudes, very negative feelings towards their job, and of course, it affected their mental state. So that's one part that I found very interesting. That the mental health experts called languishing. So we had. That session we talked about different ways you can cope with it and different things you can do to help yourself. You might want to also look at that session on our different platforms. So let's move quickly into series 7 and 8.
Mrs. Bumi, I want us to finish this section by 7 o'clock because my battery is very low and I want us to save this section. So let us try to summarize the remaining. I'm on 4% now. I want us to complete this as soon as possible so that we have it safe for others to watch.
That's achievable. We're in the second to last review. So series 7 and 8 talks about identifying and handling violent behavior at work. So it says, what should be your first reaction to an aggressive behavior of a colleague or client? I'll go quickly to answer that. If your colleague is showing a violent behavior, an aggressive behavior, you are not Mike Tyson, what they call it. The first thing you do is to move away from the unsafe environment. We took an example of the Chinese video. We put up one Chinese video like in one of our recorded sessions also. You might want to watch it. So the first thing you do is to leave the provocation scene because you don't want somebody throwing objects at you. That's a violent behavior. That's not the other kind of behaviors we're looking at. So when someone is showing a violent behavior, the first thing you want to do is to leave that scene so that you don't engage yourself in altercations as in fighting, throwing fists. So run as fast as your legs can carry, Series, then, of course, there are other things that will follow. You can look at, watch our video to see those other steps. Then we also looked at, for series 9 and 10, which was our last series for last year, we looked at coping with different behaviors in the workplace. While you as a safety expert, it took us through all sorts of behaviors. I was even opening our minds and the reason behind those kind of, behaviors, and how those behaviors can lead to a psychotic behavior. Is not a series that you want to miss. Go and look for those series and watch it. You see a lot of people behave in a different way, in different ways that somehow that is abnormal, but you just kind of, well, we are not the same thing in this life. We normalize it, but they are not normal though. If you just ignore them for a very long time, they become real issues in the workplace. It leads to loss of productivity, even loss of it also affects the safety of other workers. You now see an environment that is tagged as an hostile environment, violent environment, not even hostile, violent environment. So it's those kind of behaviors you want to pay attention to and learn how to work with them. Either they need to be taken out of the system or they need to be addressed, they need to be treated. So it is good to be aware of what constitutes normal and abnormal behavior. We looked at it in that session. It also helps us to keep ourselves, because the change, it starts from you. It helps us to keep ourselves in check and also tell the signs in others and take useful steps, especially in the workplace, because everything we are talking about here is in the workplace, although we know that there are external factors, but everything we are saying here is pertaining to the workplace health and safety. And that's all for the review for today. I'll leave Value to have his final talk, and then we wrap up.
Yes, you can see that based on what we discussed from the beginning to the end for the whole of last year, even though we could have discussed more, but we have to go for also other personal things, business things that will give us some things to continue this, because without money we can actually continue this, even though we are doing it for free. But personally, we have to assess ourselves and also make sure that there's something of pocket so that we can continue giving you this every point in time. So we should have done more, but from what we discussed, you see that what we have is basically for the mental health and safety of workers, because when workers are mentally stable, definitely safety of the workplace is ensured, is secured, is confirmed. But when workers are not mentally stable, when they are mental instability doesn't mean that they are mad or crazy or they are psychotic. It means that they can possess some kind of behavior that would affect their ability to be able to be productive at work, and at the end of the day, it will affect the other individuals that make up the workplace. So this year is promising. We are going to give you more exciting, more enlightening, more educating moments on workers' mental health and safety. I'm very sure you want to miss this particular one, because mental health is becoming the talk of the day. It's becoming the show of the day. So mental health is now very, very important. Health and safety, for example, is going from HSE to ESG. That is environment, social, and governance. Talking about social, you're talking about the social welfare, the social well-being, and you can't be talking about social without considering the mental ability, the mental state of individuals. So keep up with us. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on our social media handles, for us to continue giving you this hot spice the way it is. So thank you for coming. I'll leave my colleague to complete the session today. We appreciate your coming. We value you. We love you. And thank you. We'll see you some other time.
Thank you very much. For those that just joined, you will listen to our recording. It's be on our list page, and of course, it's going to be on my page as well. We remain yours, Bumi Jasmine Omeke, a lawyer, an HR practitioner with interest in health and safety, and also Waliu, the engineer and his safety expert with several years of experience, representing OSEC Legal Aid Clinic on one side, an NGO responsible for workers' health and workers responsible for getting justice for workplace accident victims, and also on the other hand, a health and safety consulting firm, CODA, as Waliu is representing, and we'll keep bringing this series to you every second Sunday of every month this year. We promise we are not going to, keep you in limbo anymore. We are going to be giving you back to back on workers' mental health and safety. Thank you very much. Please go on our different platforms. to watch this recording and other recording for your mental health and safety awareness. Have a beautiful week, everyone, and happy Valentine in advance. See, I'm on red. I don't know why.
And remember that
doesn't
it is always. Remember that it's always 6 o'clock every time, every second Sunday of the month. It can always be flexible, but every second Sunday of the month, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Just make sure that you are following us and you are always here to benefit from this moment. A long discussion is a long discussion that you are going to learn a lot from. You are going to learn a lot from this, how to relate to people, how to understand people's mental ability, their mental strength, and how to make sure that you get whatever you want to get from them. I promise you that this year is going to be more educating, like we said. Thank you for coming. You came late, it's a celeb doctor. You came late, a lot of people. Make sure that next time, 5 o'clock, you are here with us, and we always give you the best. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good night. Happy Valentine.
Bye-bye.